I had a dream I was running toward your mountain.
Real life. This is real life.
And in my dream, I wasn't alone.
The inspiration for Lights Madrid had a lot to do with just growing up on that kind of music and loving it. You know, I've got, you know, Oddmart Liebert, and I've got, going way back, I've got Julian Green albums, CDs, I've got Julian Green vinyl that I started collecting in the late 60s, early 70s. And I've always had great admiration for people who play and play well the nylon string classic style guitar, which I never was trained. You know, I never had the technical and the classical training of that kind of guitar, that kind of instrument. But it has 6 strings, which I can relate to. You know, it has a sound hole I can relate to. I know how to tune it, and I've got almost 10 fingers. So I figured, yeah, what inspired Lights Madrid was that kind of music. But what gave me the actual push to do it was my friends over at Word, who said, I'd like you to do a Spanish-style album. I said, all right, let me think about this. Okay. Piece by piece. Just like, you know, a house is built, you know, and just like a painting is done. You start off with your sketch, perhaps, you know, and you start forming, you know, patterns or figures or landscapes, and then you know you've got the colors, you've got your palette, and to me, the process of recording is wonderful and exciting to me. Even though I'm a novice amateur engineer, I did engineer the whole album and I did mix them all. It's got a good vibe. It's great for dinner music, you know. And everybody now and then eats dinner, or now and then people always eat dinner. You can really tune into the album with headphones. It could be music to study by. It might help calm the process of working on your taxes. Have at it. Have fun. It's supposed to be a fun album, really. Even though it's got some tender moments, it's by and large an album full of fun guitar work. It communicates the heart and soul of who I am as a musician. I used mainly my Del Lanion's classic guitar. It's a guitar that he built for me, and it's a very beautiful guitar. It's very well made, has a nice sound. I used that on probably 90% of the album. I also used Del Lanion's acoustic guitar, and also the one that's also fitted for a MIDI situation. That's where you hear some of the other things like steel drum sounds and flute sounds and trumpet. I played the bass on most of the album. Electric guitar, I played some of the Parker Fly on there. Did some keyboard work. Did a little bit of percussion. But mainly, Ken Lewis is the drummer and percussionist for the whole album. I also brought in Chris Donahue, who played upright bass on 2 numbers. Mark Harris, who plays 7-string bass. He played on the title track, Lights in Madrid, and also Last Call. And there's David Davidson, Chris Wilkinson, and there's also John Catchings, who's featured on cello. I've got them pretty well straightened out in my mind, you know, 15 songs in an album. That's a lot. The piece was very gentle, you know. And the ending of the song has this real nice little chord sequence that's kind of Vaughan Williams-esque. You know, I love Vaughan Williams, and English composer. So after the strings were put on it, I thought, well, it's got such a gentle lilting thing. I just started to see a ballet dancer. And I thought of my niece Alice, who is a beautiful ballerina. Now she's a teacher of ballet. And I thought, lady slippers. They're not ballerina slippers, but, you know, I'm not even sure what a lady slipper looks like. Is it a flower? It's a flower. Okay, I must go and see what a flower, a lady slipper flower looks like. The piece that's very special to me is really the overture, because it's though the guitar music is what I composed, it was a collaboration with my friends David Davidson and Kristen Wilkinson, who approached me from the Nashville Chamber Orchestra, and they said, you know, we would love you to create a guitar piece that we could score for you and present and perform with you. And that happened. I thought about it for a couple of months, and then I realized, ooh, August 1st. It's due August 1st. July 31st, I went downstairs in my little studio, and I just began to play. And I created this piece. It has a theme, it has a cadenza, and it has all these little things that weave in and out. It's great for dinner music, you know. And everybody, now and then, eats dinner. Or now and then, people always eat dinner.
When suffering restores us, burns away the empty shallowness, softening the heart to be broken bread and poured out wine. When it rains and pours, turns.
Inseparable is a mystery album to many of my closest friends and to many fans, and somewhat, I think, a mystery to my own record label, I think. And I think in a sense it's a bit of a mystery to me, which then makes it socially acceptable. It's something we can all agree on, that is, it's not a very pop-savvy album. But I wasn't setting out to make a pop-savvy album, you know, or a commercial album. It came into mind to create an album like this because I was putting these tracks together, and there were two of these tracks were just kind of like sitting around waiting for home. Carry Me Back was one of them, and there was Whose Heavy Heart, and The Seeing Eye. Those three tracks were just kind of waiting for a home. My sister Jerry, we've written some songs together over the years, she faxed me these words, and they were basically the words of Carry Me Back. And I said, I think I found a home for these. And at the time I'd been listening to other kind of music. I've been taking in and just enjoying European music and European pop music, and, you know, the various like expressions like Björk, you know, and I like keeping an open mind to all kinds of influences. And so I thought, well, I'd like to try some new things vocally. I finished those three songs, and then I had a few old ones. There was a friend of mine, Ted Sanquist, wrote Blessed Are, which is the Beatitudes. I've known that song for probably 26 years now. I thought, you know what, we need to hear these words. And that added to the list of songs, and then friends of mine in Chicago asked, hey Phil, could you ever put down on tape Motor of Love, the Paul McCartney song, because I sing it sometimes in concert. So I added Motor of Love to the mix. I thought, hey, you know, about 5 songs here. I co-wrote Chalice with John Safara, and the theme of that song is suffering and how it can affect us, change us, and actually make us better people sometimes for others' benefit. As Oswald Chambers said, who also inspired the lyrics in the song, that we become broken bread and poured out wine. The song Inseparable came about in the middle of all that, and I thought, well, yeah, you know, I want to stay in this kind of mode. I really thought I had something good here, like Little Star and headlines. I pulled out real life from the shelf. And then my niece wrote a poem, sent it to me, Contemplate the Moon. It ended up being this 17-piece tune record, and it just sort of has its own sort of frequency. It's what it is. That's how I put it. And my Little Orphan album has found a big home, and Word Artisan is putting it out, and I'm very pleased.
Hear the voice and follow, find refuge in the hollow of the hand which touched this earth of old. You found a treasure, hold it now forever, a prize we know so very hard to find. There's nothing worth comparing if you know how to measure the value of a peaceful, quiet mind. Breathe within the heart of your desire, listen to the words as you aspire. Through fire, storm, wind and rain, and broken dreams of yesterday, you are where he wants you, little star, close and within reach of where you are. Rest assured in what you've heard, peace of mind remains secure. You are where he wants you, little star. Still waters running deep, I pray the Lord my soul.
There's Michael Bloomfield, and there was Jimi Hendrix, they were influences, and Julian Bream, John Renbourn, Eric Clapton, you know, George Harrison, and Paul McCartney, and the rest of the fad. Bruce Coburn, Van Morrison, Bob Dylan, of course the Ventures, and you know, people like that. Scotty Moore. Larry Carlton, Nookie Edwards, James Burton, Jeff Beck. Boy, there's just so many.